He lived in silence. He prayed in darkness. And somewhere between those long nights of ink and candle flame, he saw something he was never meant to see. His name was Brother Hermann, a quiet monk from the early Middle Ages, a man whose life left almost no trace except for one manuscript, a manuscript the church hid for centuries. A manuscript filled with visions so vivid, so terrifying, that even today historians struggle to understand how a single human mind could have produced them. This is the story of the monk who saw the end of the world and the prophecy humanity was never supposed to read. The monastery of Kalbrunn was not a grand cathedral or a mighty abbey. It was a small wooden complex on the edge of a forest remote, cold and forgotten, the kind of place where men went not to serve God, but to bury themselves. Brother Hermann arrived there in the dead of winter. He was young, quiet, and strangely detached, as if he had already seen more of the world than someone his age should have. His brothers remembered him as polite and obedient but distant, like a man living two lives. One inside the monastery and one inside his own mind. His daily task was simple: copy manuscripts, line by line, word by word, hour after hour. The older monks said that while others grew tired, Hermann grew focused. While others bowed under boredom, Hermann sank deeper into a trance-like calm. They believed he was touched by God. They had no idea how wrong they were. One night, during a fierce storm, Hermann stayed alone in the scriptorium long after the bells rang for rest. Wind smashed against the wooden shutters. Thunder rolled like ancient drums. The candles shook violently, throwing long shadows across the stone desk. He dipped his quill into ink, but when he tried to write, his hand froze. Something was whispering. Soft at fears like wind slipping through cracks in the walls. Then louder, clearer, terrifyingly human. Hermann later wrote in the manuscript. The darkness spoke, and its voice came from neither heaven nor earth. The shadows stretched. The candles dimmed. And suddenly, Hermann saw the world not as it was, but as it would be. He saw cities burning, not by fire, but by something cold and invisible. He saw mountains split open as if the earth itself tried to escape what was coming. He saw oceans rising, swallowing kingdoms whole. He saw humans walking with hollow eyes, as if their souls had been emptied. But the worst vision, the one he never explained, was a figure made of light and shadow, standing over the ruins of the world, watching everything fall apart with silent acceptance. And then the whispering stopped. The storm quieted. The candles steadied. Brother Hermann collapsed onto the floor, trembling. The next morning, he began to write. For months, Hermann worked in solitude. He refused food. He did not sleep. He barely spoke. When questioned, I simply sighed, I write what I have seen. The manuscript became a labyrinth of symbols, drawings, and long prophetic passages. It described calamities that made no sense for his era. A poisoned breath that spread across continents, silver birds falling from the sky, towers piercing heaven that would crumble in a single hour, iron serpents roaring beneath the earth, 1,000 voices speaking without tongues. To the monks of the 11th century, these words were meaningless. To us, centuries later, they sound uncomfortably familiar. But there was one prophecy that terrified the church above all others. When the twin suns fall, the great silence begins. Historians still debate what he meant. Some say it was metaphor. Others say it was impossible knowledge. But the church had no interest in discussion. They believed the manuscript came not from God, but from something darker. One morning, soldiers arrived at the monastery. Not to kill, not to arrest, but to confiscate. The manuscript, to priest stern, silent lead Brother Hermann away from the scriptorium. The other monks were not allowed to speak to him, not even to say goodbye. That night, Hermann's cell was found empty. He was gone. No struggle. No blood. No tracks in the snow. It was as if he had walked out of the world entirely. The church's report simply stated, Brother Hermann has been relocated for spiritual correction, but he was never seen again. Not in any month, not in any record, not in any grave. He vanished like his visions foretold. The manuscript itself was locked inside the archives of a major cathedral. For centuries, no one spoke of it. It became a rumor, then a myth, then a forgotten curiosity. But in the 17th century, during a cataloging of old church archives, a scholar discovered it by accident. He read it and immediately wrote in his journal, "This is no work of madness. It is a mirror of things yet to come." The church seized the manuscript again. The scholar disappeared within the month, and once again, the visions of Brother Hermann went back into the darkness. Centuries later, fragments of his writings resurfaced through private collectors. Some pages appeared at auctions. Others leaked into university research. The strange part? Every historian who read Hermann's visions admitted the same thing. They should not make sense, but somehow they do. His descriptions are symbolic, metaphorical, but hauntingly aligned with events far beyond his time. Plague, world wars, bombings, towers falling, machines that breathe fire, voices carried through invisible air. Of course, skeptics argue it is coincidence, human imagination, overinterpretation. But believers say something else. Brother Hermann did not imagine the end. He witnessed it. Some say he was executed. Others say he was locked in an underground cell, condemned to silence. A few whispered that the church sent him to a remote hermitage where he spent his final years writing prophecies no one would ever read. But there is another theory there, one that feels closest to truth. Hermann saw visions that did not belong to his time, visions that no mind should carry. And after he wrote them down, whatever force showed him the end of the world simply took him back. A man who saw the last days of humanity should not have to live the rest of his own. Brother Hermann left behind no possessions, no body, no tomb, no portrait. Only his manuscript, a door he opened by accident. Or destiny, a door he should never have approached. A door we may still regret looking through. The monk is gone, but his prophecy remains, and whether it was madness or truth is a question the world has not answered yet, because in the final page of Hermann's manuscript, written in trembling ink, is a final warning. The end is not an event. It is a cycle, and when it returns, we will know its face. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by mysteries that defy time, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more stories like this. See you in the next one.